Okay, your NFL Week 5 prediction. So looking at the first game, you have your Texans versus the Bills. This one is going to be a very good game. The Bills are coming off an absolute smackdown. They got destroyed by the Ravens, while the Texans, they barely squeaked by the Jets. And the Texans, you can tell they have the talent. You have Stephon Diggs catching touchdown passes, CJ Stroud doing his thing, but the Texans haven't been as dominant as people thought they've been. Their defense is allowing too many big plays, while the Bills, they have quite a few injuries right now. However, their defense outside of the Ravens have been shutting everybody down, and their offense has been doing enough. However, I think this one's going to be a tight game, and I don't think the Bills have the wide receivers to keep up with the Texans, and especially with home field advantage, I'm going to take the Texans here. Then you have the Jaguars versus the Colts. This game, I don't think it's going to be that good. Joe Flacco's most likely going to be starting since AR got injured, and the Colts, they've been alright. They beat the Steelers last week, but I don't really trust their defense. The Colts defense hasn't been that good this year. While the Jaguars, everything's just wrong with the Jaguars right now. Trevor has been bad. That offense has been bad. That defense hasn't been that good. I gotta take the Colts here. Joe Flacco's just look good. And then you have the Ravens versus the Bengals. Both these teams got much needed bounce back wins. The Ravens destroying the Bills, while the Bengals beating the Panthers. For the Bengals, I think their offense is starting to come together a little bit. Joe Burrow looks better, Jamar Chase looks better, but I'm still worried about that Bengals defense. That Bengals defense has not been that good. While the Ravens, they've looked a lot better the last couple of weeks. Their offense has been much better, and that Ravens defense is continuing to be very good on the run game, but weaknesses on the Ravens, definitely their passing defense and their offensive line. I think the Bengals can take advantage of that. So I'm going to take the Bengals here, upsetting the Ravens. And you have the Patriots versus the Dolphins. Both these teams are terrible right now. Dolphins coming off an embarrassing loss on Monday night against the Titans, where everything went wrong, while the Patriots, they lost to the Niners, and nothing really went good for them either. This one's going to be a terrible game. However, I think Jacoby Brissett's game managing will get them the win here. And the Patriots have, to me, a better defense than the Dolphins. I'm going to take the Patriots here. Then you have the Broncos versus the Raiders. The Raiders are coming up with a surprise win versus the Jets, and their offense looked terrible. However, the Broncos defense looks really good, while the Raiders, they just haven't looked that good. That defense I thought was really good in the preseason hasn't really lived up to those expectations, and that offense obviously is really bad. However, the Broncos haven't beaten the Raiders in a couple of years now, so I'm going to take the Raiders here. I think Bo Nix will probably throw a game-losing interception. And then you have the Vikings versus the Jets. Jets are coming off a terrible loss versus the Broncos, while the Vikings are coming off a scary win over the Packers, but the Vikings look like the best team in the NFL right now. That Brian Flores defense, I think, will give Aaron Rodgers a ton of trouble, especially with the kind of porous Jets offensive line. And that Jets defense, I don't think we'll be able to contain them for 4 quarters, so I'm going to take the Vikings here. Then you have the Commanders versus the Browns. The Browns have not looked like a good team. They lost last week against the Raiders, I believe, and Deshaun Watson has not looked good. Their offense has been terrible, and their defense hasn't been great or anything. While the Commanders, I'm still worried about that Commanders offensive line, especially against Myles Garrett. I can see Myles Garrett destroying this game for the Commanders. However, Jayden Daniels has looked really good. Brian Robinson has been good. That Commanders defense, even though I don't think it's that great, I think they're good enough to stop the Browns offense. So I'm going to take the Commanders here. You have the Cowboys versus the Steelers. This one is interesting, to say the least. The Cowboys are coming off a Monday night win or Thursday night win over the Giants. However, they didn't look that good, while the Steelers are coming off a loss versus the Colts. Steelers defense wasn't great versus the Colts. And I think that Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb will be able to drive the ball versus that Steelers defense. I gotta take this Cowboys here. I don't really trust that Steelers offensive line, so I'm taking the Cowboys here. Then you have the Chiefs versus the Saints on Monday Night Football. The Saints have had back-to-back not great offensive performances, while the Chiefs, they're getting more injured, but they're squeaking out wins. I still think that Chiefs defense is very good. I think they will just shut down Saints. This is going to be a tight game and defensive game. I think Chiefs win these type of games. I'm taking the Chiefs here. Then you have Thursday night, the Bucks versus the Falcons. It's a short week, and the Falcons do have home field advantage. The Falcons have been playing a little bit better in the last 2 weeks. Their defense has been playing better. Kirk Cousins hasn't looked like the old Kirk Cousins, but he's been getting better. While the Bucks, they're just coming off a giant win over the Eagles. Their defense, to me, the Bucks defense has been improved this year, massively improved this year. I think they can slow down Kirk, and obviously Baker Mayfield has been really good, so I'm gonna take the Bucks here. Then you have the Bears versus the Panthers. This game, I'm not a fan of this game, man. Panthers with Andy Dalton in the helm looks better, but they're still not a very good team. While the Bears, at least they have a good defense, so I'm gonna take the Bears here. Then you have the Saints versus the Cardinals. Cardinals did not look good last week. Their offense has not been that great this year. James Conner has been great, where Kyler has been so-so. And that Cardinals defense is not great or anything. While the Niners, they're getting back healthy. They destroyed the Patriots last week. I think the Niners have just the more talented than the Cardinals. I'm gonna take the Niners here. Then you have the Seahawks versus the Giants. Giants are coming off a Thursday night game in which they lost to the Cowboys. Daniel Jones didn't actually perform that bad. However, I don't really trust the rest of that Giants team. That secondary is really suspect right now. And Geno Smith, he has been playing really good. I expect the Giants defense to not be able to stop Kenneth Walker or Geno. And I think that Seahawks defense will bounce back after a really bad game versus Lions. So I'm going to take the Seahawks here. And then you have the Packers versus the Rams. Rams are just way too injured right now. They lost the Bears last week. I can't trust the Rams. They're just too injured, while the Packers are starting to get healthy. So I'm going to take the Packers here. So there you have it, my NFL Week 5 predictions.